everybody, welcome to my channel. This video we are going to get real. We're going to talk about my infertility story that I went through in 2016, 17, and 18. So first off, I got married in June of 2016. A week later after we got married, I went and had my IUD Mirena taken out. I had it in for about 4 years. So on the Mirena IUD, I never actually had a cycle. It was very painful having it put in that day. I was in the most excruciating pain ever. But after that day, I never had an issue, and it was great not having a period at all. And I had read a bunch of stories saying that a lot of women get pregnant about a month later. My OB at the time that did take it out just said that usually give your body a month or so to regulate, and after you have your first cycle, that's when she recommended to try to conceive. So I just want to say something here. There's so much about the woman's body that I did not understand. I did not understand that you're supposed to have your cycle every 28 days, and how long it was supposed to last, or how your body works to get pregnant. I just knew pretty much that when you're not on your period, you can try to conceive, and if you don't get your period at a specific amount of time, you may be pregnant, and that's when you take a test. And that was as much as I knew. So I learned a lot through this whole journey. I learned more than I'm guessing some women know. A month later, I did get my first cycle in 4 years. I was not looking forward to it because to me, it was pretty much going to be like going through puberty all over again. I was not looking forward to it. And then it became August, and I was waiting for the next cycle, but I never did get my cycle. So I took my pregnancy test, and it was negative. And then I went to Hawaii for a family vacation, and I took another pregnancy test, and I was still negative. And then September came around, and still no period. And I still took more pregnancy tests, and they all were negative. So I didn't understand, because I read everything saying that clearly if you don't have your period, you're most likely pregnant, but I wasn't. So I finally did get a cycle, I believe in October, which it was really heartbreaking because I'd gone 2 months without a cycle, and I had my hopes up. And I was like looking at everything to see like if there was any slim chance that I might be pregnant, but I wasn't. But I finally did get a cycle around October, and then it was nothing again until I think around December I got another cycle. So November I didn't get one, and then around January to April I had no cycle. And by that time, I was reading a bunch of articles, and I was really worried that the lining in my uterus was getting super thick, and I still haven't had a cycle yet. And that's when I started getting really concerned, because by then we were already at 6 months of trying to conceive, and we still were not getting pregnant. And so I made an appointment with my OB in April of 2017. And the day before I was to go in, I finally did get my period. But we did talk that over the phone that at the 1 year mark of trying to conceive and still not getting pregnant, that I will want to speak with a fertility specialist. And so April, I finally did get a cycle again. Since it'd been 4 months, that might have been the first time I was starting to think that maybe there's something wrong. And of course, when you're trying to conceive, you don't think you're going to have any issues. You read some people take about 6 months to a year to try to conceive for their first child, and that's what I was kind of expecting. But after so many negative pregnancy tests, you start to wonder that something might be wrong. So, 1 year of trying to conceive would be June of 2017. I did get an appointment with an OB that also specialized in infertility. I got an appointment with her in July of 2017. So after talking to her, she asked me some questions about what my cycle was like before I was on the Mirena, when I was on the Mirena IUD, and what it's been like the past year. Ever since I hit puberty, I always had irregular cycles, and I didn't know that it wasn't normal. And I never had cramps really. And of course, she also asked like if you have acne, or I don't remember if weight was an issue. At the time, I was about 228 pounds, and I'm only 5 foot. So I was very overweight, and my husband was also overweight, very overweight. So she said that is not helping probably, and she'd scheduled for me to do an internal ultrasound like the following week, but she was pretty sure that I had PCOS. Many doctors, like, it's not something exactly easy to diagnose, but being that I've always had irregular cycles, and I don't have a thyroid issue. She asked about that, and we did blood work and everything, and I didn't have it. So we scheduled for an internal ultrasound, and we did find some cysts and on both my ovaries. And she also said that my uterus was a heart shape, which is part of why when I had the IUD placed in, it was so painful, is because it was hitting the top part here, which is why it hurt so bad for me. But she said that it shouldn't cause any issues with conceiving. She just said it was a special. And then we discussed on a couple of options that we could do to help conceive. She'd want me to do a paleo diet to help me lose weight. And other options that we could do were to take some medication to help me ovulate. And with my hormones, we talked about Clomid, and we talked about Famera, also known as letrozole. And we could also do a HSG test and do a semen test, were the couple of things that we talked about right away. So we opted to do Famera, which has a 10% increased chance of you having multiples. And at this time, after a year trying to conceive and seeing so many negative pregnancy tests, I didn't care if multiples was a chance, and it was only 10%. So our plan was to try to conceive was we were going to do 3 rounds of Famera, and after the first round, we were going to also do a progesterone test to make sure my progesterone levels were where they should be. And we were also going to do the diet. My husband and I decided we wanted to do the keto diet because it showed the results the fastest. And we also wanted to do a semen test. So about a week later, we did do the ultrasound on me. And then we also did the semen test, and his test results came back completely normal. So it was just me out of the two of us that had some issues. So she had, if I remember right, I'll have to show you the calendar. I did a calendar of this for the first couple of months. I did it for every month actually. So I was supposed to call the clinic when I got my period, and they would prescribe me the Famera. I would start taking Famera on cycle day 3 through day 7, I believe. And then on cycle day 11 is when I would start taking ovulation predictor kits. She had me use the ones that would have a smiley face only on the day that I actually ovulated. So all the other days it would just be blank or just be an empty circle. She didn't like the ones that would flash smiley face or that would be a solid smiley face, because how she described the PCOS is, for those who don't have PCOS, your hormones go up and down when you are going through your cycle and everything. Whereas those with PCOS, your hormones just kind of stay level, and those throw off a lot of ovulation kits. So she just wanted me to try the smiley face, no smiley face ones. And then, of course, when we did get a smiley face, we were to try that night and the next night. 2 weeks after ovulation, I was supposed to see if I was pregnant, and if I wasn't pregnant and my cycle wouldn't start again, then I was to call the clinic again, and I was supposed to take Famera to try to make my cycle start. I always ended up ovulating around cycle days 13, 14. So after our first round, I think she had me wait a week after the day I ovulated to make sure that I actually did. I went in to do the progesterone level, and we did a lab work, and it came back saying I did ovulate. We had done 3 rounds of Famera, and I kept ovulating around cycle day 13 or 14 each month, but I still wasn't getting pregnant. And I was losing weight. At this time, we're about at October 2017, and I had lost about 30 pounds. So after 3 rounds, went back to the drawing board. I called my doctor, and we talked about the next step being an HSG test. October was really hard for me. That's when depression started to kick in. Even now, I still don't know for sure what I want to be with my life, what I want to do. But from the very beginning, I've always known I wanted to be a mom. And to feel like your body is keeping your dream away from you, it was heartbreaking, and it's painful. And it's even harder to do this alone, because Jareth and I didn't want to tell anybody that we were trying to conceive, because we felt like that people would tell us to wait and to go live our lives and go and travel and see the world before you have kids. But we knew that we wanted to have kids now. We had talked about it, and this is definitely what we wanted. So I couldn't talk to anybody really, and none of my friends, nobody that I knew really struggled with infertility. No one was going through what I was going through, and so I felt very alone. And before this whole year and a half of trying to conceive, I only wanted to involve Jareth when it was time to tell him I was pregnant. So I never really told him. Like, I obviously told him the test was negative, and today I'm ovulating, so tonight's the night. But other than that, I never really told him about my feelings about it, because I wanted it to be a surprise for him. By October, I was very alone, and kept just seeing no, and I just felt like my body was broken. And I felt like nobody understood. Everyone just kept on saying, it'll happen when it happens. You know. I just kept hearing all of this. And you all know what I'm talking about. They think they're helping, but they don't understand. And even now, like, I can't really remember much, because I was so depressed. Like, I couldn't cook for us anymore. I didn't want to do laundry. I just barely made it through the day. I wanted to quit doing all of this, because obviously it wasn't working, is how I was feeling. And it killed me. It killed me. I also didn't have a relationship with my real mom. It had been over about 9-10 years since I really spoke to her. And I didn't have any family history of anyone on that side who may have had issues also, or who may have had PCOS also. I just felt like I was the only one. And then I finally like looked up on YouTube and to see if there was someone else maybe who had PCOS that was struggling to get pregnant. And then I found a couple of women who were also in the same boat as me. I didn't know there was a whole infertility community. And that was the only place where I felt normal. Like, I'm not the only one. There's someone out there who understands my situation. And that was the only hope I really had at the time. So I'll have a list of all of the ladies that I follow. Some of them have been successful and have beautiful babies, have their beautiful rainbow babies, and their stories are great. I love them. And then there are a few that are still working on getting their dreams, and all of them have different infertility journeys on what they had to do to get their family or what they're still trying now to try to get their rainbow baby. So I definitely would check them out because they are amazing and they helped me so much through my struggle. I hope you enjoyed the first video of my infertility story. I will have another video explaining what else we had to do to try to get pregnant and to finally get our rainbow babies. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.